being Redford Drive. And for those watching, the city desires to pave Redford Drive from 9th Avenue west to the city limits. If you travel that road, you know it's very poor condition. We reached out to the city of Indianapolis because once it leaves Beech Grove, it becomes Indianapolis all the way to Sherman Drive. So told them what our intent was, and they asked to join in. They too acknowledge that the road is poor. So Craig, along with the attorneys for Indianapolis DPW, has sat down and wrote a document, interlocal cooperation agreement between the city of Indianapolis and the city of Beech Grove to pave that road. So Craig, I don't know if you wanted to talk about it briefly, or?
No, I think you summarized it well. I mean, there's a stretch that becomes Indianapolis, and they rated that that stretch of road poorly as well. So I think what we're going to do is when that's paved, our guys are going to pave it, and then the city of Indianapolis is going to reimburse us for the costs. So
the cost
page 3
to do this is not to exceed $58,021.22, and that will be billed within 45 days of completion. So I think it's a good agreement between both cities, and obviously the road will be paved. So what I'd like for our clerk to do is read the document into the record, only the first page.
Interlocal cooperation agreement between the City of Indianapolis by and through its Departments of Public Works and the City of Beech Grove. This interlocal cooperation agreement is entered into by and between the consolidated City of Indianapolis and Marion County, Indiana, by and through its Department of Public Works and the City of Beech Grove, Indiana, by and through its Department of Public Works related to improvements to Redford Drive. Recitals. Whereas pursuant to Indiana Code 36-1-3-9, Indianapolis and Beech Grove are each has exclusive jurisdiction over streets inside its respective boundaries. And whereas Redfern Drive is a street that generally runs in an east-west alignment, portions of which are located within the jurisdiction of Indianapolis and portions of which are located within the jurisdiction of Beech Grove. Therefore, the street serves and affects the citizens of and the economic well-being of both Indianapolis and Beech Grove. And whereas Beech Grove has planned and designed a project to improve the portion of Redfern Drive located within its jurisdiction and has offered to, as part of its public improvement project, to also improve the portion of Redfern Drive within the jurisdiction of Indianapolis from Sherman Drive to Glastonbury Court. And whereas Indianapolis has determined that the Redfern-Indianapolis segment needs improvement and that acceptance of Beech Grove's offer to improve it will result in cost savings and efficiencies. And whereas Indianapolis and Beech Grove individually and collectively have determined that the financing, design, and construction of the improvements to Redfern Drive will be of public utility and benefit. And whereas pursuant to Indiana Code 36-7-2, Section B and 12, governmental entities that want to buy, sell, or exchange services, supplies, or equipment between or among themselves may enter into an interlocal cooperation agreement to do so. And whereas Beech Grove is required to bid the project in accordance with the Public Works Statute, Indiana Code 36-1-12, and pursuant to Indiana Code 36-1-7-12, Section B, compliance with the Public Works Statute by Beech Grove constitutes compliance by Indianapolis for the project.
Thank you, Jim. Any questions or comments from board members?
we should do more of this. It's a good idea.
Yeah. We're going to do, the board will be hearing one soon on the Thompson Trail, and then the roundabout at 25th and Churchman. So I agree with the council that these are good things. So any questions or comments from board members?
Will we be doing a bid process?
We already have. It's all done. They're set. That was a process we did earlier this year. I don't know when we awarded a bid, a couple months ago.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was in the paving project already.
Okay, it was already in there.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Yep.
Perfect.
Yes, ma'am.
So Dave, any thoughts?
No, I'm good with it. I think it's great.
No further questions or comments. I'll ask for a motion to approve the interlocal cooperation agreement between the City of Indianapolis Department of Public Works and the City of Beech Grove to pave Redford Drive.
I'll make said motion.
I second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
I also vote aye, and the motion carries. Thank you. Request to hire DPW part-time. Jim?
Dear Board, it is my recommendation to the Board of Works that the city hire Tanner Royer as a part-time worker at the Department of Public Works. Mr. Royer is the son of Andrew Royer, current DPW employee in the position of commercial driver. City Legal has rendered an opinion that this will not violate the city's nepotism policy, since Mr. Royer will not be in the direct line of supervision of any relative. Mr. Royer will be filling the part-time position vacated by Patrick McKenzie when he voluntarily quit on February 25th. This position will pay $15.70 per hour and will not exceed 58 hours per biweekly pay. There is money in the sewage works budget to fund this position. If approved, Mr. Royer will start on Tuesday, June 8th. Respectfully, Brad Merriweather, Director of Public Works.
Thank you, Jim. And once again, I'll defer to council on the nepotism.
Yeah, as long as he's not in the direct line of supervision, as long as the father's not supervising the son, shouldn't be an issue.
Okay. But we want to publicly disclose it, that it's going to occur. So, comments from board members?
I have none.
I'm done.
If not, I'll ask for a motion to approve the director's recommendation to hire Tanner Royer as a part-time worker at DPW.
I'll make said motion.
Second?
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
I also vote aye, and the motion carries. Thank you. Next up, request to hire Parks part-time. Jim?
Dear Board, please let this letter serve as a request for permission to hire Chris Davis for a part-time laborer position in the Parks Department. His salary will be $14.65 hourly, and funds are available in the Parks part-time salary appropriation. Mr. Davis has passed a pre-employment drug screening and criminal background check. Thank you for consideration in this matter. Respectfully, Thomas Hannon, Director, Beech Grove Parks.
Questions or comments from board members?
I have none.
I have none.
If no questions or comments, I'll ask for a motion to approve the director's request to hire Chris Davis on a part-time basis.
I'll make said motion.
I second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 I also vote aye, and the motion carries. Thank you. Next up is a handicap parking permit application for Joseph Bass. I'll defer to the clerk.
So we had a submission for a new handicap parking spot for Joseph Bass at 228 North Fifth Avenue. All necessary documents have been submitted and payment has been received. We just need final approval from you to issue that.
Thoughts, any questions or comments from board members?
I have
I'm
none.
none.
If not, I'll ask for a motion to approve the handicap parking permit for Joseph Bass.
I'll make said motion.
I second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
I also vote aye, and the motion carries. Thank you. Next up, final completion approval, Garstang Street project. This time I'll defer to the clerk to read the letter into the record, please.
Dear Mayor Buckley, this letter serves as recommendation for final completion for the Garstang Street Stormwater Improvements Project. We believe the contractor has satisfactorily completed the work and substantial completion was achieved on April 21st, 2021. Issues arising after approval of final completion will need to be addressed as warranty items if the issues are determined to fall under warranty requirements within the 1-year warranty period. This warranty period ends April 21st, 2022 for the work accepted at the time of substantial completion. The contractor has submitted the required waivers of lien from their subcontractors and major suppliers, which will be forwarded to the city under a separate cover for the city's files. If there are any questions or comments, please feel free to contact me at 317-788-2453. Sincerely, Westler Engineering, Mary Atkins, Project Manager.
Thank you, Jim. This was the Garstang Street project that was completed, it's done, and it works. we solved a drainage problem over there that has hampered that area for over 40 years. So it's fixed. So if there's not any questions, I'll ask for final approval and close this Garstang project out.
Amen. I'll make said motion.
I second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
I also vote aye, and the motion carries. Thank you, Board. Next item is request to hire community center part-time.
New hire. The Hornet Park Community Center would like to hire the following people as part-time program assistants. This part-time position will start at $12.50 per hour, and their schedule will not exceed 29 hours per week. If approved, they will begin working on Tuesday, June 8th, 2021. Chelsea Redmond and Janelle Cooper. Retiring, Bobby Smithers has been employed by the City of Beech Grove as a facility attendant at the Hornet Park Community Center since 2004. She has decided that it is time for her to retire and enjoy her life without the restraints of a work schedule. Her last day of work will be on June 11th. If anyone would like to celebrate her, please join us for breakfast at the Community Center on Thursday, June 10th at 9 a.m. Angel McKenna, Facility Manager.
Bobby has really been a good part-time employee. She's very, what do I want to say? She's very dependable. And she always worked the first thing in the morning, so she would show up around 7:30. So I wish Bobby the best, and she really did a nice job for us. Also, Bonnie Edwards, who works out there part-time, she has submitted her resignation. She just became a grandmother, and she's going to babysit. So what I want to do with this board is I want to approve these individually. So I ask for a motion to approve the employment of Chelsea Redmond.
I'll make said motion.
I second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
I also vote aye, and the motion carries. At this time, Board, I'd like to approve the employment of Janelle Cooper.
I'll make said motion.
I second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Thank you. We have next order of business, change of pay status in the police department by 2 employees. Chief?
Good evening, Board. I have 2 requests to actually lower police officers' pay. I know that doesn't happen very often, but it's a specialty pay that they no longer need to receive. Dear Board of Works, Officer David Kirstein has resigned from his position on the Special Response Team. Officer Kirstein was a valuable member of the team for over a decade, serving as the sniper. He also was a reliable firearms instructor and helped to plan the logistics of trainings for the team. With his resignation, his pay needs to be adjusted down. His biweekly rate will now be $2,699.69.
Questions or comments?
Will this position be replaced with another officer?
Eventually.
Thank you.
No further questions or comments. I'll ask for a motion to adjust the salary of Officer David Kirstein.
Make said motion.
I second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 I also vote aye, and the motion carries. Next up, Chief.
Dear Board of Works, Captain Scott Ferrer has resigned from his position on the Special Response Team. Captain Ferrer was a reliable member for over 20 years. He served as team leader for a while and was the instructor for the less than lethal and chemical munitions. With his resignation, his pay needs to be adjusted. His bi-weekly rate will now be $3,179.38.
Questions or comments from board members?
I have none.
I have none.
If not, I'll ask for a motion to approve the chief's request to adjust the salary for Scott Ferrer.
I'll make said motion.
I second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
I also vote aye, and the motion carries. Thank you, Chief. Next up, Board, is, next order of business is a COVID payment. I didn't write a letter on this. But I wanted to run it by you folks tonight for approval, and I'll defer to Jim. Jim deals with the health insurance, so if the clerk would bring us up to speed on what we would like to do for the employees of the city. So, Jim.
Mayor and I met with AIM about a week and a half, 2 weeks ago, about the current status of healthcare in the city and kind of where we sit, looking at last year and how we kind of sat with what we paid and the claims and whatnot. They do offer incentives for us every year based on the premiums that we do pay, kind of like a benefit package for us to kind of return to the employees and whatever aspect we decide is best. One option they said was COVID payments. They're seeing a lot of municipalities and employers incentivizing their employees to get the vaccine. So talking with AIM, they suggest a $50 payment to any employee who informs their department head that they have received the shot. So based on that, we get a couple $1,000s in funds available to us as a city from AIM. So if we submit reimbursement, they will reimburse the city for that. So we're looking at doing that here in a couple months, letting the employees know if they have received it, great. If they're interested in it, if they do it before a certain time, let their department heads know, and then we will make sure it's on their paycheck later this year. So the final dates, I'm assuming in September sometime, but we'll get all those ironed out if it's something that we want to continue with.
Any thoughts or questions on that?
Is that the incentive for those who have not received it so far?
Anybody, whether you've gotten it already or if you
Okay.
plan to. Yep. So
Okay.
we're giving them some time to do it. That way, if they feel like, oh, I haven't gotten it, but if you want to give me $50 reimbursement, then I will go ahead and do it because of that. And some people won't. So that way, it just opens to anybody who has or is willing to.
Okay,
Are they
perfect.
getting
Thank you.
paid time off work if they go?
I would assume.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yes.
they can do it. Yeah. hmm
That
I would say that they work with their department head for that, but I don't see a problem with that.
That was a suggestion from the EEOC and a regulation that came out a couple
Okay.
months ago.
Our position has always been that an employee is not mandated to become vaccinated, but we do highly encourage it for their benefit and benefit of everybody around them. So I just would like to get a simple motion to approve this payment from the board.
I'll make said motion.
I second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
I also vote aye, and the motion carries. And like Jim said, sometime in September, we'll put a memo out to the employees. So thank you, Board. One last item this evening is an update on the opioid settlement. We, the city of Beech Grove, I don't know, 3, 4, 5 years ago? I can't remember. It's been a long time. We were one of the first municipalities that filed suit in federal court against 7 manufacturers and distributors of opioids to the residents of Beech Grove. And that's grown. Now it's up to 9. But now some of these pharmaceutical people are filing bankruptcy and settling this matter. And it had a direct effect on the city of Beech Grove. So what we're trying to do is seek some type of reimbursement from these corporations. It's a long-going process, and it's very slow. And now they are trying to, our legal counsel first started out in Indianapolis, then it was taken over by a firm in West Virginia, and now they want us to settle the lawsuit. And so Craig has been dealing with it and dealing with all of the updates that we have received. And I don't know if staying in this lawsuit is good or bad. I'm going directly off what our city attorney is telling me. So there's a resolution tonight, and Craig is much more well-versed in this than I am, so I'm going to defer to him to explain what is in the best course for this city. So, council?
Yeah, so like Mayor said, we were one of the very first municipalities to file these lawsuits against these large pharmaceutical companies. And what eventually happened is since they were in federal court, there was a multi-jurisdictional court set up in Cleveland, Ohio. So it was a federal court in Cleveland who is essentially responsible for managing these lawsuits, not just for Indiana, but all throughout the United States. Now, some of these cases have been tried. Some of these pharmaceutical companies have filed for bankruptcy. And so what they do is they'll appoint a bankruptcy trustee and they'll collect their assets, and then, you know, it's pennies on a dollar at that point. Recently, as these pharmaceutical companies file bankruptcy and the assets are collected, they have to be distributed. And what's been decided is that the attorneys general for each of the states are the ones responsible for delving out the assets to the municipalities or the affected entities. And what the state of Indiana has done, unfortunately, and again, if you've been paying attention, the state legislature has been no friend to local government. What they've done is the General Assembly passed a statute that said that the state of Indiana is going to keep 85% of the assets, and then 15% go to the counties and municipalities. And I tell you, the counties and the cities are the ones who have borne the brunt of this epidemic, and it's not acceptable. It's a total money grab, is what it is. So in this process, what we've been able to do is we're by, I think it's June 30th, a municipality can hear what I'm doing now and decide whether they want to stay in the settlement. So we would stay and in that a pot of 15%, we would, you know, share with everybody else, or we can opt out and continue the lawsuit, and at some point down the line, very most likely get a larger pot of the money. Now, you know, are we going to get a windfall on this? Very unlikely. In fact, it's going to be spread out over 17 years. So it'd be a stream of payments over 17 years when these cases are resolved at some point. But when I looked at first, I was like, you know, why would we ever opt out? Let's just be done with this. But when I looked closer into this, and then Cohen and Malad is a class action law firm here in Indianapolis, and Erwin Levin is probably one of the most well-known, finest class action attorneys in the not only in the state, but definitely in the state, but even the nation. And I've spoken to him pretty much in great detail about this and what, you know, the benefits for us doing this, and I'm convinced that we should opt out. And Cohen and Malad will be our local counsel, and, you know, it's going to continue for probably another year or so, but in my estimation, but I think we're selling out to be in the pie of that 15% when, again, the municipalities have borne the brunt. And you can talk to our chiefs. We could talk to them probably for an hour apiece, and they can tell you how it's impacted their budgets and impacted the community, because they see it every day in some of their runs. So my recommendation is, and this is part of the resolution, is that we opt out of the settlement and we continue the lawsuit. And then at some point in time, and it may be a time where we're not sitting up here anymore, who knows? But I think it's in the best interest of the city to continue with this.
I know, Dave, you had some questions on it today.
Well, that was it. I didn't really understand what this was all about, so I understand it now.
I think, you know, Erwin had he had two separate conference calls with the municipalities that are affected, and I don't know anybody who's not opting out. I think everybody's doing it. I mean, it's just, you know, why would we not at this point? So, now there may be a few who decide not to carry it forward, but again, I strongly recommend we opt out and continue.
Any thoughts, Sandy, from you?
You're saying to opt out, and then you're saying
Opt out of the
continue.
settlement.
Okay,
So the 85-15, I think we should
You're getting-
opt out of that.
okay, but you want to stay in?
Oh, absolutely. The law, we'll remain a plaintiff in the lawsuit.
Okay,
What I'm saying is that if we were to not opt in, you know, we'll start getting a stream of payments at some point. It's gonna be much lower than, in my estimation, is if we were to continue with this.
okay.
But again, by the time this is delved out, there's a chance that some of us won't be up here, so.
If there's not any other questions or comments, I'll ask the clerk to read the resolution into the record, please.
Resolution number 3, 2021. Resolution number 3, 2021 is a resolution to opt out of the opioid settlement pursuant to Indiana Code 4-6-15-2. Whereas the city of Beech Grove has been actively engaged in pursuing damages caused by the manufacture, sale, and distribution of opioids through outside counsel and multi-district litigation. Whereas recent legislation adopted by the Indiana legislature and signed into law by the governor greatly diminishes the potential recovery from various responsible parties per Indiana Code 4-6-15. Whereas the Board of Public Works and Safety, Indiana, after due consideration, has determined that it is in the best interest to opt out of the opioid settlement under Indiana Code 4-6-15-2. And now therefore be it resolved by the Board of Public Works and Safety in the city of Beech Grove, having considered whether to elect to opt out of the opioid settlements under Indiana Code 4-6-15-2, hereby resolves that the city now exercises its election to opt out of the opioid settlements and orders its duly authorized agent to submit a certified copy of this resolution to the Indiana attorney by June 30th, 2021. Duly adopted by the following vote of the members of the said Board of Public Works and Safety for the city of Beech Grove this 7th day of June, 2021.
Questions or comments?
I have none.
I'm none.
If not, I'll ask for a motion to approve resolution number 3, 2021.
I'll make said motion.
I second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 I also vote aye, and the motion carries. If you could, when you vote tonight, after you sign your name, at the end of the column, just mark yes, or just write yes for your vote. Thank you, Board. That concludes new business. Any comments from board members?
I have none.
I have none.
If not, I'll ask for a motion to adjourn the meeting.
I'll make said motion.
I second.
The meeting is adjourned at